Well, good morning. Introduce me again, James. Who is this gentleman you brought with you?
We're with Jose Fernandez, and he's also deeply involved in the crypto space and a lot of crypto technologies and a lot of where probably the gig economy might be going next. I know that we've touched on a lot about the gig economy and how cryptocurrency could impact or change the way we do things going forward as far as technology goes. So.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things, Jose, that I've always been the most intrigued about cryptocurrency is it's kind of an accidental birth mother. And what I mean by that is, there's so much of an obsession on everybody's getting rich off of cryptocurrency. Nobody really steps back and reflects on the fact that the underlying thing that makes cryptocurrency so valuable to our society is the blockchain technology.
Yes, correct.
I mean, for me, here's the example I want you to run with in a second. Mm-hmm. So you're someone who has a farm to market business in Southeast Asia. You're harvesting tea or, whatever at a very, family operation. Mm-hmm. To be able to ship your product halfway around the world, track it, and financially transact. Mm-hmm. Now we're bringing people into the middle class.
So what the blockchain enables is financial inclusion. You have a lot of people in areas like Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, where I'm from, who are either unbanked or underbanked.
Yeah.
So they either don't have access to banks because in this undeveloped environment, it is not conducive for the banks to operate. It's not profitable, so they just don't. Or they have very basic sort of banking, but they don't have all the financial services that we take for granted because we live in this bubble and we don't care. So one of the things that the blockchain does is that it's going to enable these people to participate in e-commerce.
Yep.
Right? These people have been isolated from the global economy. And it's just because they had the bad luck of, being in an environment where they can't interact with us. But the blockchain, because it enables peer-to-peer trading, peer-to-peer transactions without central banks, without institutions in the middle, it's going to allow those people to participate in e-commerce and the gig economy as a whole. So,
well, what makes me laugh about that is, and I realize that you both are quite a bit younger than I am, but in the late 90s, everything was B2B, B2C. Mm-hmm. I mean, every night I would sit in a bar in Kansas City and talk to guys who were all trying to sell credit card transaction business and all this, ancillary transactional business. Mm-hmm. And, we were just 20 years ahead. Now I want to take this and jump railroad tracks. Okay. I mean, we're talking about cryptocurrency and something very technologically specific, but I want to throw one at you that I know you didn't see this last week. So I apologize. I'm going to catch you completely off guard, but you'll know exactly where to go with this.
I am always off guard.
Last, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, Oxford University released a white paper that said, I believe it was, what did it say, James? I sent it to you. Was it 15 years or 10 years? I don't remember the exact number, but they said within 10 or 15 years, 47% of the workforce is going to be obsolete.
I think that's a conservative number. Yes.
Wow. So imagine if that's a conservative number, where we actually are heading.
Things are moving faster than that.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how fast things are moving.
Yeah. So I want to throw one at you. This is really, really cool. And I hope to get her in here for an interview. I met a woman last week on the day that story was dropped. And I just coincidentally, we just started up a conversation in a public place. And, I said, what do you think of this? And she said exactly what you said. She goes, it's way, way, way more than that. Mm-hmm. And I says, well, what's your background? And she said, well, I work for an AI company.
Wow.
And so we started rapping on this conversation. And she told me, she said, the scary thing about this is it just exactly what you said. There's really no way to measure the technological leaps.
It's impossible. Yeah, it's because it's very decentralized in the sense that you have so many players involved, right?
Yeah.
And interesting example here, and this is kind of a well-known story, is the Kodak moment.
Yeah.
So Kodak, right, used to be leader in the photography business. The first digital camera was actually Kodak engineers who were behind development. And they developed a 0.1 megapixel black and white digital camera. When this concept was presented to the board of directors, their reaction was, what? No, what are you talking about? We're in the business of selling paper and ink.
Yeah.
Okay, why will we do this? Why will we disrupt our own enterprise?
Yep.
Big mistake.
In my culture in central Nebraska, where I come from, we have a banker who said to me once, he said, we don't have enough characters out here. And I looked at him, I said, what do you mean? He goes, this country was settled by characters. And as I've gotten older and I've accumulated some gray hair, to drill into what you were talking about, the Kodak and the mindset, we're a culture that, well, let me back up. Managers accumulate, leaders create. And the problem that you run into in corporate America is somebody invented Kodak in a shop someplace, and that mindset got lost. Mm-hmm. And when that mindset gets lost, that's an opportunity, because that's the soft underbelly.
The United States, for a long time, was sort of the epicenter of development. I mean, the internet was born here, space travel, so many things. But what we have now, because of this inherent bias, especially in the AI space, development is shifting towards Asia because they're less biased. They don't have people that have been working AI for 30, 40 years.
No.
It's a new thing. And the main focus of the main use of AI at the moment is either advertising, spying, killing people with drones.
Yep.
Not the best use of a technology that has the potential of being just transcendentally sort of in a positive way, right? It can have a transcendental impact in a positive way. So the blockchain actually comes into play because what the blockchain will enable, and this is something that's being worked on by various teams, there are various projects, of creating a decentralized AI marketplace where independent creators, because the best people actually, they're not working at Google or Facebook. No. They can't work there. They're in India or Pakistan or whatever. So they don't even have access.
They're unseen.
But thanks to the blockchain, it is possible to create a sort of economy, an AI economy that can run independent of central banks and large corporations. So you can have a sort of an open marketplace that is owned by everyone and no one, where all the participants of the marketplace can own a share and have a say. So it's more of a democratic
community.
Exactly. And that's the direction that things are going. And I don't think that the giant centralized corporations will be able to outcompete millions of people.
Well, and to show you the lack of instinct, if you will, you look at Chase Bank's position on cryptocurrency. Jamie Dimon, 36 months ago came out and basically said it's a Ponzi scheme.
Now they're running their own chain.
Now they're running their own chain. I mean, this is just...
Absolutely.
It's laughable.
Real quick, touching on what you were talking about, the economy, the blockchain economy, what is the upcoming project that you had mentioned to me earlier about that's going to be using crypto and it's going to be a competitor to Fiverr and other places?
So there's an issue with talking about this because these are kind of financial products. I don't want to run into
You're a smart man.
Thank you.
No, we don't want to play that game.
No. Yeah. But there are projects that are competing with Fiverr.
Well, so there are, without saying any names, there is a particular project that I have some interest in where I have vested interest. So which is why I don't want to mention anything. That what they're doing is that they are creating this platform. There's two things. One, I can say the name, but all right. So it's a platform to educate people in developing countries, to teach them skills that they can sell online. Now, it could be anything from making a logo, shooting a video, whatever. Now, right now, they're not able to participate in e-commerce because they don't have PayPal, they don't have a credit card. But what this platform will do is that it will enable people in the West to consume the services being offered for people in those nations, paying fiat currency here, and then in the background,
Transact.
Exactly, you get a conversion to crypto, so they can get paid in crypto, which they don't need a bank. But the point is that there are platforms coming out that will enable people in those areas to participate in e-commerce and the global economy.
Yeah, I think that that's always good, especially in the gig economy where we move forward. We move things forward, or people becoming their own boss more and more. Even just working side gigs or begin working side gigs, and eventually that goes into more of being able to just run your own shop or being able to work for yourself. Because upon what I've done in my life, and you've known me for a while, there's a difference between owning a business and working for yourself. And that's what a lot of people always get confused of. Working for yourself means that you're not going to, punch a clock. You don't have to be on anybody's schedule. You pretty much set your own schedule. And I think that whereas the more companies eliminate jobs due to AI and automation and things like this, you're going to start seeing a lot more prevalency in the gig economy. And I think that along with blockchain, this will help give the power to the people that want to participate in that gig economy and be that independent and work for themselves. They're going to be able to get that for themselves using blockchain technology, crypto technology, et cetera.
The thing that I look at from a very macro level is I believe in the bottom of my heart we're going to go through one of the most amazing times as a species that we've ever. I don't really think most human beings realize what the next 10 years is going to be like.
I don't think anyone can even imagine what the next 10 years are going to be like.
I mean, I look at my grandfather who was born in 1892.
Wow.
And in his lifetime, he died in 1988. And in his lifetime, he saw an automobile, a telephone. I mean, he saw some major advances. He saw a nuclear weapon. He saw a man walk on the moon.
Fax machine at the end,
Yeah, and a computer he never touched, but he was aware.
Yeah.
The thing that just freaks me out is in the 30 years since I left high school, I can't even hardly get my mind around where we are technologically today.
Yeah, we have more progress in a year than we had probably throughout his entire lifetime. And it think about it. If you were to grab someone from, I don't know, the 1700s and you brought them to the present, I mean, what we're doing, it's inexplicable.
It's unbelievable.
It's complete. It's magic.
Yeah.
It is. No, it is.
It is.
Any technology that you can't tell the difference at some point between.
Well, you have to grasp the fact that just over 100 years ago, within the indigenous population, the Indian culture in America, they didn't want to have their pictures taken because they thought the technology would steal their soul. And we've leaped to the point now where no one on the internet has a soul.
True. Maybe they don't. Right?
I mean, but it is the commoditization of personalities. I mean, that's the easiest way I can explain it. And I mean, that's what drew me to this table right here.
Opportunity changes everything, right?
Yeah.
The ability to do this. And, in the past, communication used to be more of a one-way street. So you have someone on TV wearing a suit and a tie, sitting in a multi-billion-dollar studio, telling you what happened, and telling you how to feel about it. Now, because of the internet, you have a sort of more peer-to-peer means of communication, which, makes those giant media companies not very happy, right? I mean, we're competing against what by sitting here? Think about it, right? Whoever is listening to, they're not watching TV or listening to the radio.
No, you're receiving information in a whole different wave.
This wasn't possible just, a couple years ago.
Absolutely.
So what happens is that technology kind of improves at an exponential rate.
Yes.
Right? because you have development happening on top of previous developments. So it has a compounding effect. The average person doesn't see that because we're kind of trained to think in a more linear fashion.
It shows up in a white box.
Exactly.
You don't know what the capacity of this is.
We're used to thinking, well, think of the environment in which our brains evolve, right? Some sort of African savanna.
Yep.
The sort of thing that we had to deal with at the time, it wasn't on the nature of exponential improvement.
No.
It was this I don't know, this just big example here. This cheetah is running. Mm-hmm. You're not expecting it to just exponentially take off, right?
No.
So because of that, I feel that there is some sort of bias that leads people to that Kodak moment, to that inability to see how fast things are actually moving, and kind of getting stuck, right? Getting stuck in your ego sort of way of thinking.
Well, let's put it this way. So you're a parent. I have these conversations, and it's really fascinating. And I do it on purpose. I'll pull somebody my age or older aside, and I say, "What do you think of the economy?" Oh, it's amazing. It's just crazy. I mean, it's just. Did you see the stock market?
Red flags everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they just get so pumped up about it.
Yeah.
And then you say, "So, what do you think about this story about the 47% of jobs?" Oh, somebody's going to figure something out. Who's they?
Classic.
Who's they?
That's the typical answer that somebody that obviously doesn't want to even think that far ahead or is afraid of the future might give you.
But here's where this becomes a problem. So then you ask their kid or someone from their children's generation, and they go, "This is messed up. I don't even know why I'm going to college. I don't even know what I'm going to do when I get out of here." And so it's like this huge disconnect. And what I call it the Pollyanna mentality. It's World War II. We've been on this walk of you get a college education, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house, you start a family, you work there 30 years, you retire, and you move to Boca, and you get yourself a condo.
It's the American dream.
It's the American dream. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you as a parent are looking at your 17-year-old kid. What do you say?
You giving your outdated advice.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I robbed the bank. I've got all the good stuff, and you're going to have to work hard. Yeah. And instead they say, no, go to college, get a degree. That's what I did. And that's what I want this show to pierce that bubble for both the adults as well as the kids, to be able to say, it's not whether the education is viable or not. More education is a good thing. I don't care what it is. To learn anything more than you knew yesterday, you're better off. I'm not saying that the educations are junk. What I'm saying is we have to start having that Sputnik conversation.
I think so, yeah.
In our educational system. We can't throw the educational system under the bus without offering them a solution. And here's where this goes back to. Earlier in this conversation, I talked about the difference between a manager and a leader. Mm-hmm. Our educational system is biased to create managers. Our educational system does not reward people for creativity. We can't unemploy hundreds of thousands of school teachers and shut the doors on schools. It's not going to happen. But we're at the precipice right now. We're now at that point where we need to make the decision as a culture. I don't know whether people realize that moment isn't tomorrow. It's
right now. We're living in it. We're living in it, absolutely. And that's why I'm a big encourager of the marketplace of ideas. And I think that nothing should impede that. There are good ideas in life, there are bad ideas in life, but along with the marketplace of ideas comes, I think, a moving forward, especially in this technology. I think that there should never be a bias against it.
And that's why I wanted to do this as a nonprofit, is that I didn't want it to have a profit motive. I want this to be a platform for sharing knowledge. You know, I grew up in the decade of conspicuous excess, and greed is good and all of that. And the past couple of years, I've had to rewire my self-concept. And I've come to the conclusion that maybe that was an anomaly. You know, to get out of college and make $150,000 a year as a bond peddler on Wall Street was pretty cool at the time, but maybe it wasn't realistic. And so I look at our culture today and I said, maybe we're not going to all end up building unicorn billion dollar companies, but let's share this information so that a whole bunch of people can prosper.
I think that one of the barriers of entry for people to kind of participate in just new technologies is the idea of expertise. Expertise is a scam. Expertise is a scam because people get stuck in the mentality of, you have to be an expert to do that thing that you're talking about. I'm not an expert in blockchain. Well, I'm not an expert in blockchain, right? You don't have to be an expert to become a participant.
Yeah.
But the idea of this fake sort of hierarchy that builds around an industry to prevent people from jumping in.
Yep.
That's the thing. It's that concept, and it's very kind of deeply seated into the psyche. I don't know how to tackle that.
We got to wrap this up because I got another guest showing up right now.
No problem.
But here's the thing. The 80s. I'm a total product of the 80s. The 80s, in a lot of ways, in order to live through it, it was almost surreal. But Reagan pushed for trickle-down economics, and it sounded really, really good on the surface. Okay, everybody was going to win from the top to the bottom. But I call it the 1984 flicker effect. And the 1984 flicker effect is this. At the same time we were talking about trickle-down economics, in the 1984 Super Bowl halftime commercial was Apple. A woman running down an aisle in a theater with a sledgehammer, and she ran up to the screen and she hurled this famous, iconic, and it ultimately, I think, might have led to Steve Jobs losing his job because the board was just apoplectic.
Elon, mentioned Elon, he said that we're all cyborgs and we don't even know it because we're so dependent on the tech, right? And, at the time when this trickle-down economics concept came about, that wasn't the case, like you said. So it's a perfect example of outdated thinking or outdated sort of ideologies being applied in an environment that is completely different to what it was when these ideas first
It was a
came
paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it'll just continue to get increasingly worse.
Yeah.
This is going to get more intrusive into your life, and
I think of Neo. And the first time I saw them stick the plug in the back of his spine and they downloaded. Those days are coming.
My final words on this podcast is something that I saw that really, really impacted me. It said in the future, everybody would want 15 minutes to be anonymous instead of 15 minutes of fame. And I think that's really telling of where we're going. So thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I want to have you come back and we'll do a wrap session. I think this is valuable for people to watch because the biases. This breaks through a lot of bias.
Amen. I like that.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.